Hello everyone, welcome to this Microsoft Excel course, and today I'll be teaching you about nested if functions. So, what is a nested if function? Nested if functions, meaning one if function inside another, allows you to test multiple criteria and increases the number of possible outcomes. Now, you may ask, what is the biggest advantage of the nested if? The biggest advantage of the nested if statement is that it allows you to check more than one condition and return different values depending on the results of those checks, all in a single formula. Alright? You may ask, how many statements can you fit in a nested if Excel? Now, Excel allows a max of 7 nested if statements. If we want to expand our list of possible statuses, we could add only one more condition and one more status. But fortunately, we can add more using a different function. Okay? Now that we have gotten out the basics of when, how, and how we'll use our nested ifs, let's continue and solve these few examples in order to show you when to use the nested if. Okay, so let's start. So over here you can see that I have some workers over here with their specific company names, their revenue, and then I have several questions involving using nested if. First, we will solve the first question, which is we will use if to find the revenue that is greater than 14,000 and label them as good. Alright, so first let's go to this cell and type equal to if, open parentheses. Now the logical test will be basically if the revenue, okay, is greater than 15 or 14,000 over here, then we will use F4 to lock in the value. Okay, after that we'll press a comma, then we'll say if the value is true, we'll press this cell, which is basically the value of good, and then press F4 again. All right, and then we'll press a comma, then put double quotations for our value if false. Okay, close the bracket and hit enter. Now you can see that it doesn't give any value over here, but if I use the fill header, you can see that we have 4 workers whose revenue is good using our nested if function in this question, which says us to find the revenue greater than 14,000. And since 12,000 is not greater than 14,000 or 13,000, it is not showing up over here. All right, now that we have solved this question, let's move on to our next one. Okay, in the next question, you can see that it's asking us to use if to find the revenue between 14,000 to 20,000, which is labeled as good. All right, so in these type of questions, we will use the nested if function that combines the function of if and function. All right, so what is the and function, which is basically and over here, as you can see. So if I press equal to and, you can see that it checks whether all arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true, or else it will come as false. All right, so let's go over here and type down our if and nested if function. All right, so let's type equal to if, open parentheses, and then in our logical test we'll put in our function and again we'll open the parentheses, and now you can see that first it's asking us for the first logical test, which is basically our revenue if it is greater than 15,000 or 14,000 over here. After that, we'll press F4 to lock in the values. Okay, then we'll press a comma again. Then the second logical test will be basically B5, which is our revenue. After that, we'll press F4 to lock in the value again. After we say that if it is less than this value, F4, okay, then we'll close the parentheses and put a comma. Now for our value if true, we will put in the statement as good by putting it inside double quotations. So here we'll put in good. Okay, after that we will press a comma, and now for the value if false, we'll just put two double quotations to keep the cell empty. After that, we'll close the parentheses. Now that we are done with the formula, I would like you to take a good look at the formula over here. First we use if, then we use the AND function, then we produce two logical tests. Now if the AND function sees that the cell's value is greater than 14,000 and less than 15,000, it will give us the value of the true statement as good, and when it's false it will just remain empty. Okay, so now let's hit enter, and as you can see that the cell over here is empty. But if we just expand our fill header, you can see that there are three values in our revenue, or the workers which produce the revenue, which has given us the value between $14,000 to $20,000 revenue. All right, now that we are done with this question, let's move on to our next question, which is asking us for the revenue between 14,000 to 20,000 to be labeled as good, and also the revenue which is greater than or equal to 20,000 then labeled as exceptional, and the rest is value. All right, okay, let's go over here and press this guy. After that we'll press equal to if. Okay, then we'll press open parentheses. Now our first logical test will be AND. So let's press AND, open parentheses, and this time we will have to check if the revenue over here, which will be our first logical test, is greater than the value over here, which is 14,000. And after that we'll press a comma, then we'll again select this cell. Oh, almost forgot, make sure you press F4 to lock in the value. Then we'll press a comma and then press the logical test over here to be that. After that we'll say if it is less than the value over here. Okay, then we'll press F4 to lock in the values again. After that we'll close the parentheses, then press a comma. Then if the value is true, we want the value to be good, so I'll type good, double quotations to end the statement. After that we'll just press comma, and in our value if false, we'll type down another if function, open the parentheses. Okay, now our logical test here will be that if the revenue over here, again we have to select the revenue, okay, is greater or equal to the value over here, which is 20,000. Okay, so I have to choose 20,000, and then we'll just press F4 to lock in the values. Okay, after that we'll press a comma, and in double quotations for a value if true, we'll put the statement exceptional, so exceptional. After that we'll push double quotations to end this, and then press a comma, and then if the value is false, and now for the value if false, we'll just select this cell over here, which is basically because our question is asking us the rest will be labeled as exceptional, or we'll just put the value in our answer if the value is false. Okay, let's select this, close the parentheses 2 times, and then we hit enter. Now you can see the first value over here is given as 12,750 because it does not require our arguments in the question. So let's use the fill handle, and now you can see that we have two values which is good, and over here we have another good and then exceptional. All right, now that we have solved this question, let's go to the next one, which is asking us to find if the revenue greater or equal to 20,000 or less than equal to 40,000, and we will flag them. All right, so how do we do this one? Let's go to this cell, and then let's type equal to if, okay, then open parentheses, and then we will type the OR function. All right, open the parentheses for the OR function again. After this, we will say if this cell, which is our revenue, okay, is greater or equal to the cell over here, which is the value of 20,000. All right, lock in the value pressing F4, comma, and then again we'll press the logical test over here to be if this cell is less than, so less than or equal to the value over here, which is 15,000, which should be 14,000, but never mind. Let's just continue with this one. I'll change the value later. Then we'll press F4 to lock in the values. Okay, close the parentheses, comma, and this time, if the value is true, we will type in double quotations for our statement flag. So FLAG, flag. So after that, we'll just press a comma, and for the value false, we'll just type double quotations to keep it empty. Close the parentheses, and now we'll hit enter. Now you can see over here that it is telling us that this is flagged because it is requiring our arguments over up here. So let's use the fill handle and find the rest of the values. And now you can see that these three values over here, okay, it is more or equal to 20,000 or less than or equal to 14,000. So they are flagged. All right. Okay, now that we are done with these, let's go ahead and solve the questions right below them, which over here we have to find the plus minus 10% threshold value, and then we'll also find out the threshold symbol and how we need to do it over here. Okay, now you can see that we have the actual revenue and the budget revenue. So what I actually want to find out over here is the threshold value for minus and plus 10%. Okay, to show you an example of what I'm trying to do now, first I'll type here equal to this value. Okay, then I'll press the division sign, this value, then I'll type in minus 1. Okay, now you can see that it's giving a value of minus 0.03. Now I'll just go over here, and in general from the number I'll just type percent. Now you can see it gives me 4%. Okay, all right, now this is what I want to find, but actually I want to find the 10% threshold value. So how do we do that? First, we have to type in if. So if, open parentheses, and then we'll type in OR. Then again, we'll put in open parentheses. So we'll type equal to if, then open parentheses, and then for our next function, we'll type in OR. So then we'll type if this cell is divided by this cell, budget revenue, then it will be minus 1. After that, we'll say if it is greater than 10%, comma, then again we'll press this cell, divided by this cell, then minus 1. After that, if it is greater or less than, not greater, less than minus 10%, okay, then comma, then we want to find out this cell divided by this cell again, minus 1, comma. After that, we'll just press double quotations and then close the parentheses. Okay, I made a mistake over here, so let's go back to 10%. After that, we'll just put in a bracket to close our logical test OR. After that, if the value is true, for that we want to say B3 or B23 over here. So basically this cell, comma, or divided by this cell, minus 1, comma, and then if the value is false, we'll just put double quotations for an empty statement, and then we'll hit enter. Now you can see that this value is not giving me any answers, but if I use the fill handle you can see that the rest of them are giving me answers. Okay, so I have found the values between 1 and 10% threshold value. Okay, now that we are done over here, let's go to the next question, which is asking me for the plus minus 10% threshold symbol. Now, instead of the values over here, okay, I want to find the threshold symbol, basically these symbols over here. Now I'll tell you where you can find these symbols. If you go over to an empty cell, then go to insert, then we'll check the symbols over here. Here you can see that you can find this up and down symbols, which we can use for our threshold symbol over here. All right. If you do not want to use that symbol, you can find many other symbols present in the symbol section that Excel has provided for us. All right. So now that you know where to find the up and down symbols for threshold symbol, let's go ahead and find out what to do over here. Okay. So let's type over here equal to if, open parentheses, the logical test will be basically this cell divided by this cell. All right. After that, we'll press -1, then greater than 10%. After that, we'll press a comma, and then we'll select that if the value is true, we'll put in this symbol, which is the up value. Okay. Then we'll press F4 to lock in the value of this cell so that it does not move down after solving one problem. All right. Then we'll put a comma. Now for the value if false, we'll again type in an if statement and then open parentheses. Now over here, the logical test will be basically, again, the actual revenue divided by the budget revenue. Okay. -1, then less than -10%. Okay. After that, we'll put in comma, and then we'll select this value for true. Then we'll press F4 to lock it in, comma, and then we'll press double quotations for the value if false, and then close the parentheses, and then hit enter. I can see that the value over here does not come, but if we use that, now you can see that it is giving me a threshold symbol for every values over here that is present with my workers. All right. Now, I hope you've understood how to use nested if functions together in order to find our answers for our questions over here, as you can see, and I hope you understood how to do them. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.